Here's why I don't really want to build a really big team. Many times in business, people assume that the bigger you are, the better, because it means that you make more money. But I have a little bit of a different opinion on this after I had some experiences and conversations with quite a lot of people who I think are really solid at this. This kind of topic was fueled when I went to this networking event and I met these guys from Belgium who just sold their agencies for, I don't know, 7, 8 figures, I'm not too sure. And they were basically saying that, in their opinion, agency is good up until you have 25 employees, because beyond that, everything becomes too corporate and too big. Things get lost in communication and it's tough, and it becomes worse after you hire 25 people. And I had some hands on experience with this because I used to work at this agency for 5 years. And when I joined them, we had 5 employees, something like that. It really felt like a family. Every call was basically with the whole team. We knew each other really well, and we had some kind of culture going on, with the feelings of everyone, in terms of everyone knew each other, so you know what is funny, what is good to say on a call. We learned together. It was us on a journey, on almost on this odyssey, just to go a little bit topical there. And then over the 5 years, that agency scaled to like over 30 employees. And at that point, everything definitely became a lot more enterprise level or corporate, something along those lines, which in my opinion was also because of the founder. He just wanted to go in that way because it seems like the cool thing to do. To you read Ray Dalio principles and you learn about radical transparency and idea meritocracy, where everyone has an opinion, in terms of it's not a full democracy, but basically if you just got hired as an analyst 2 weeks ago, your opinion still matters, just not as much as the guy who's been working here for 20 years. Right. And I really love that idea. But the way an email marketing agency would work, for example, is okay, at that point we had 5 account managers and everyone started working with specific people. If you think about it, it's pretty expensive to have a team call with 30 employees, by the way. It's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if anyone is on an hourly rate. And also, when there's a lot of people on the call, realistically, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 people actually engaging and talking, unless you have bulletproof culture. You can set it up like, okay, each account manager has 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that. But realistically, a lot of people are going to be silent and maybe they're scrolling on Tinder or whatever during the call. Over time, you have to document everything, and there are these vacation policies, and sometimes people want to take time off at the same time and things of that nature. As the founder, 90% of your work is around organizing different people, and we definitely noticed that we definitely lost a lot of the knowing each other and the cultural elements, and over time became a little bit less enjoyable and more robotic. And yeah, and another thing is, a good employee to client ratio apparently in the agency space is 1 to 1, but in my opinion I think it's becoming less because of the use of AI as well. And over time, another bad thing in my opinion about having a super big team is this kind of chain of command. And also, let's say we have 5 people working on an email, right? Then it really slows you down. It becomes really slow. You then become this corporate entity, especially in today's world, when you target people like e-commerce owners for e-commerce stores, for example, where things change really fast and it's really valuable for them to work with an agency who's flexible. And it's not always possible to have 5 people QAing an email to go through the whole process because maybe they have a new product launch or something like that. We always talk to our clients about, listen, we need at least 3 to 5 working days if you want to change things. But sometimes there can be some urgent things, yeah, but definitely not all the time. So that's clear. So a part of it is about working with those kind of clients. But realistically, how many clients do you have who are like bulletproof, super solid strategy, built out 2 months in advance and all of these things? Not all of your clients are going to be dream clients. So much advice out there, oh, just get better clients, bro. But a lot of times it's just not that possible, or maybe it is possible, but then you cut your revenue in half or less. I don't know. It's just not really been a super big fan of, if a client is super, obviously if a client is really bad, we might let them go. But I just like to operate in real life. So you just cannot be so idealistic. So, for example, the way things would work in a really big email marketing agency with 30 employees is you have the account manager, they create the campaign strategy, they have to get it approved by the client potentially, and then they assign things on ClickUp or Trello or wherever it may be to the copywriter. If you have a copywriter and you don't use just AI, so then the copywriter, it's going to take, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 working days to get it done at best, if they don't forget or they don't have, I don't know, for example, when you get in a relationship, especially if you're a guy and you're getting into a relationship, you're just gonna slack off. You're just gonna be a little more chill, a little more, I don't know, less proactive, something like that. Or maybe they get sick or whatever, and then the copywriter gets it done. And then maybe we have to get it approved by the client again, and then before that, actually, the internal QA has to review it again, another 1 to 2 days, because you just assign someone work, they're not going to immediately do it, right? So every single person that you add into the process, it adds an additional 2 working days for that deliverable to get done. So once the internal QA reviews the copy, because people make mistakes, you need to QA, otherwise you're just going to have mistakes, at least 1, 2, pretty bad one per month per client, even with the best employees. And then you give it to your designer, again, another 2 working days, or at best, by the way, again, it's at best if you have a team. And again, in my opinion, especially if you build a really big team, like 30 plus employees, then that becomes difficult to have 30 A players. It needs, in my opinion, a lot of times, and we talked about this in the previous video about hiring. If you haven't seen that one, make sure to check it out. And yeah, by the way, the way I'm trying to position my YouTube channel is a little bit about, okay, I'm very confident with what I'm talking about in terms of e-commerce email marketing. So those ones are more sharing my experiences and more of like an expert sharing things. And then I wanted to introduce this other, like for example, this video where I'm 30, I'm building this agency and I'm still figuring out some things. So for example, when I make a video about this one or hiring or I don't know, investing or whatever it may be, I just think it's something that all of us entrepreneurs go through, and it's more of a documentation type of thing, and just again sharing my experiences, because I've been doing this for 9 years. We worked with over 300 e-commerce brands, including 2 Fortune 500 companies. So back to the original topic. So yeah, just at a really big team, it's tough to have only A players, and right now we have 8 plus me, and I'm quite confident with where everyone is at, because everyone needs some time to learn and things of that nature. So every little piece that you add in, it just adds additional days to get the deliverable done. Another thing is sticky wages. So what, in my experience, what happens is, for example, if you hire someone on, let's say, an hourly wage, or maybe even, let's say you pay them 2K per month to manage, I don't know, 5 clients for you. So it's, the way people work is they don't, once they make a certain amount of money, they don't like to make less employees, because immediately they will increase their lifestyle, etc. So for example, what happened to me quite a lot of times, and this happens with even the best people, like if you, oh, don't hire an hourly, okay, whatever, like as an example, so if you hire someone on an hourly wage, and let's say you do e-commerce email marketing, which means November every year will be your busiest month because of Q4, Black Friday, all of these things. So what happens is they will work a lot in November, and then let's say, okay, simple example, let's say normally they work for you 100 hours a month. Simple example, 100 trackable, focused hours where they are active on there. So we use Hubstaff, for example, for tracking employee activity as well, because there are people like they track their time, but they're watching the NBA in the meantime, or things like that. Like we need to, I don't know, I just think screenshots, like an app that takes screenshots periodically is a good idea, and that measures activity level. So with that being the case, let's say they work 100 hours, but in November they worked 150. What I noticed is if an employee was consistently below 100 and then it go up to 150, then the next month, even though the next month is not as big as November and pretty much as big as the months before in terms of activity, it's going to be like 120. It's just going to come down a little bit, but not as much as it should, or not as much as it was before. So it's a concept in economics called sticky wages, where once you hire someone, you have to, in my opinion, you have to think about, okay, let's say we have 10 clients and 10 employees, right? And let's say within 1 week, we got 2 new clients, so we might need 1 more employee. Just as a simple example, something like that I think has already happened to us. And then I just hired a new person because we probably needed it. We would have been stretched at 12 clients with 10 employees, but we would have managed. And when I hired a new person, it was okay. But then what always happens in business is you don't lose. This happened to us actually in 2025. We didn't lose a single client for the whole year. And then in December, 5 left in the same 2-week period. And it's just, okay, sweet, great. But at that point, you already hired that person and you cannot just let them go while we have less clients, because then they're gonna find some other work. Also, their motivation might not be as big because you fired them, kind of thing. And there's a whole human element to it. So whenever we hire someone, now my mindset is, okay, would I still hire this person if we lost 30% of our clients in the next few weeks? Would this person still be useful for at least 3-4 months? I gotta be thinking about things like that. And if you are on an even higher level, then it's, would this person be valuable for a year, 5 years, things of that nature? We are not at that level yet, and I don't know if we want to be, because I think there's actually a really big benefit of being flexible. And something that I personally find interesting is one way to connect really well with our ideal customer profile is to have the same mindsets, be super driven. I want to scale this agency to 1 mil per month, whatever it is. But on the flip side, I think if you're an e-com founder, you actually prefer to work with an agency who's maybe not that, I don't want to use motivated, I don't want to use that word, but maybe not as much in a hurry to scale to 1,000 clients a month, or I don't know, because you kind of want them to focus a lot on you. So you want to focus on an agency that focuses on client quality, which is what we're trying to do. Yeah, it's just something that I find interesting personally. So whenever you hire someone, you need to think about that. And I think these were most of my thoughts for this video. If you like this kind of content, let me know, comment, share, subscribe, things of that nature. And thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next video.